Hello there guys, it's Stephen here, back with the first video in about nearly 2 weeks. I'm sorry, I've been missing you all greatly, but I was just really tired. So I had a little break from just life and, not life, just life was there everywhere still, but from making videos because I needed to get my head back in the game ahead of the season because there's been so much going on this summer, so many transfers, so much excitement to be had, and it got a little bit too much for me. I think it was all that staying up late watching the pre-season games. I was just exhausted, but I am back with the videos, with the transfer target. And as you can see, I'm also sponsored by someone. Yes, someone has decided to sponsor me. I've never taken a sponsorship before, but these people are actually worth it. It's OneFootball. Their wonderful app is available to download in the description. You can get all your City news from them, obviously, and from myself too. But it's a great app on the go. It's got your stats, it's got an aggregated news feature, content, and all that kind of stuff. And I like it. I've always refused sponsorships and so on, but these guys seem good. I like the app and so on. So go and give it a look out, see what you make of it, and get downloading it because it would mean a lot to me in this channel, and they're going to be with me throughout August. So cheers, OneFootball. Go and check them out. They're in the description below. Give that app a download. And let's get on to the transfer target. And a lot has been going on since we last got together and had a chat over there. We had a couple of friendlies. The young lads have looked really good. Danilo's looked really good. Mendy has been absolutely hilarious all over Twitter. And things look very positive. Also, Fernando has left. A quick word on that. Good luck, Fernando. The recently haired Fernando, compared to the bull version we had, he's gone to Galatasaray on a £4.75 million deal, I think, which could raise to around £6 million, which is not bad for a 30-year-old with 1 year left in his contract. It's good to see us moving these players on. This deadwood all seems to be kind of being swept away from the club. We're getting a youthful, invigorated squad. It looks like Pep is finally getting exactly what he wants ahead of the new season. But let's get on to the transfer target because there's a whole host of names to discuss. Probably one of the final ones before we get actually into the season. Kylian Mbappé, is it Mbappe? Oh, someone's going to tell me once again that I pronounced it wrong. But anyway, the French superstar, the 18-year-old wonder kid. City are quite linked quite heavily with him for a rumoured £160 million. There's been a lot of chess manoeuvres going on recently. Apparently we're after him because he's been spotted at the CFA with Leroy Sané. He tweeted out a picture saying, "It's great to meet you, bro." And then Mendy replied with possibly my favourite and Nicola's favourite gif, the Elmo gif, which kind of... He's a good guy, isn't he, Mendy? I like him a lot. But anyway, on to Mbappe. Obviously, he's a very good friend of Mendy and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva as well came out and said that he told Mendy to come and join him at Manchester City. So maybe he's going to try and get Mbappe to actually join him at City too. Probably not, but that would be nice, wouldn't it? I would really like this to happen. I think it goes without saying he's a special player. A once-in-a-generation kind of player. And the kind of person that I think is worth breaking the bank for potentially. Could cost an absolute extortionate amount of money, but the way the game is going, I wouldn't really care, I'll be honest. To me, he is exciting compared to Sanchez. Sanchez... He's very much a 2 seasons, get the best out of him, and then he'll go kind of player. And that could be a kind of player that has a legacy, maybe rivaling Ronaldo and Messi. That kind of brilliance could come from this young man. And sometimes you have to just make a statement signing. And with Barcelona allegedly close to signing Coutinho and Dembele, maybe they aren't in for him. And obviously PSG has signed Neymar, and they could fall foul a financial fair play if they go after Mbappe as well. The Real Madrid have allegedly, according to Jamie Jackson, have told Gareth Bale that his future is fine. He won't be going anywhere this summer, which is obviously the likely effect of Mbappe signing for Real Madrid. Then maybe the cards are aligning a little bit. Apparently Nike as well have some big club release clause fee in his contract. I don't know how that works because obviously they don't own him, but it obviously we're a Nike sponsored club, so everything seems to be kind of aligning a little bit. My gut instinct is that it won't happen, but I think he has had his head turned. He's obviously very close to these Monaco players, two who have now are Manchester City. And it's not as unlikely as you could think. I'd be very surprised if PSG got him as well, given the fact that Monaco obviously would be reluctant to sell to him. And I think Monaco as well have started to accept that they are basically a selling club. It doesn't really... It's not nice to see their great team ripped apart, but I think they've accepted it, and given the fact that everyone else has already gone, they may as well get rid of him too. They may as well just cash on him while his stock is so high, and I think a bid around 160 to 180 million would probably seal the deal there, understandably, given the fact that he's had 1 season effectively. It's ridiculous amount of money, but then again, you pay the best for someone who could potentially be the best. There's a quote from Monaco's vice president where he said he needs to move for sporting reasons, and I think a lot of people have been confused by that. I don't think he's saying he needs to move as if he's going to move. I think he's saying if he does leave, he has to make sure that it is for sporting reasons and not for money. I don't know what that means, but to me it sounds like an admission that this could potentially happen, that he could leave. I think we've got to be cautious in this, but this is quite exciting, isn't it? He's a Galactico signing. And if we did leap these big super clubs ahead of him to sign someone like him, well, that would make a statement. But for now, I'm going to remain cautious. On to another one that I just probably don't think will happen personally. Alexis Sanchez. This was one of the biggest sagas of the summer, but it looks increasingly unlikely. It looks like Wenger is kind of playing hardball on this one and just kind of going a little bit senile with it. And being totally honest, I think he's a bit... I understand the stubbornness and I always admire it, but I think it's a little bit silly to keep a player. He doesn't want to be there for the sake of £50 million. I know maybe one or two Arsenal fans will watch this and disagree. I don't know. I think it's very much a pride thing here with Wenger. I kind of concur with Guardiola on this in terms of you've got a player who clearly doesn't want to be there. Sometimes you just have to let them go. And I'm sorry, for a club like Arsenal, their stature, no one man should be bigger than the club. I don't think they should keep him there against his will. I think it's a little bit like, I don't know, you're not getting the best out of him, are you? You're not. What possible scenario could this be positive for Arsenal Football Club? But it looks like they might just hold on to him. He's obviously been off a little bit ill, apparently, allegedly. Some people say he's been faking it, but then again, he could have actually been ill. And apparently Wenger did say he will be staying when they got together, but Sanchez made it clear that he wanted to leave. I don't know. I see this as too complicated. I see there's too many layers there. I think Arsenal believing it's too late to get a replacement in. And I think he'll just leave on a free next year. I don't think the board will be happy about that in terms of Arsenal's board, but that isn't our problem, I guess. I wouldn't be gutted in general if we didn't get Sanchez. I like the balance we've seen in pre-season. I like the fact that we've got a small focused squad now. The likes of, your Fodens and your Brahim's, and these players would be directly affected by Sanchez coming in. I like the fact they are on the periphery of the squad and the kind of go-to players for the Carling Cup games now. And I don't want to see that ruined personally. I quite like the idea of just kind of having what we've got, a very young, vibrant, attacking forward line, and just honing it. But that's just my opinion. What do you think of that? Let me know in the comments. And another player we've been linked with quite heavily in general over the summer, but it kind of comes and goes depending on what the news is. Pretending it's quiet, probably. He's 24-year-old Championship defender Ben Gibson. Now, I'm being facetious. Obviously, he was a Premier League player last year, and he impressed for Middlesbrough despite their relegation. But we're apparently backing him for him. Now, this came after Pep said that apparently we're still missing something. And I do wonder if that's a left-sided centre-back, because obviously Kolarov left, and we are lacking that now. And Gibson is a left-sided centre-back, and he's a good defender. He played very well last season. He possibly caught Pep's eye. His performances against Manchester City when Middlesbrough were dogged against us. And he's got a decent pass rate completion as well, around 84%. I expect that to go up and be honed more if he played for Guardiola. And obviously he's homegrown as well. We're not struggling on that front, but he would definitely tick a box there. And I'm not sure there's complete faith in the moment Adebayo, and even in Kompany's fitness, which is understandable. Now, obviously, we've got Mangala, Denayer technically there. Denayer looks like he's got to Galatasaray. Mangala, it's a weird one. He's still hanging around. Doesn't seem to be any permanent bids for him. But Guardiola did say a week or so back like that it's likely that him and Nazi will definitely leave because we've got so many players, which leads me to think if someone like Gibson comes in, he could be maybe the replacement there. I still don't think it's likely. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure this really fits City's profile. Gary Monk has apparently been reassured that they'll only sell if an extraordinary offer comes in, which to me is talking 30-40 million given the market. I don't see us spending that on him personally. I don't see City caving in, but maybe Gibson might think, well, I want to make the World Cup squad. I want to make that for England. And I can't do that in the Championship. So maybe he's thinking, maybe I should push this move through. But I don't know. I just can't see it personally. He's a good defender. Maybe not a top-class defender. But it just seems a little bit too much of a stretch for me personally. Maybe I'm wrong. I just can't see it personally. And on to the outs. And this is one that I'm hoping doesn't happen, but it's looking increasingly likely every single day. Jadon Sancho, the wonder kid, the prodigiously talented 17-year-old, arguably on his way to being the most expensive teenager in terms of contract-wise in world football in history, for around £30,000. It's looking like he's going to leave Manchester City, and I'm really disappointed how sour this has become. Sadly, from what I know, all the stories are true in terms of he has just disappeared from training. He's not answering phone calls, and he doesn't believe he has a pathway to the first team. Now, I've seen a lot of argument on this on forums and on Twitter and so on. Some people castigate his behaviour. Some people say, well, he's got a point about City maybe not showing a pathway. And I don't think there's a correct answer here in general, and I think the truth as ever usually lies somewhere in the middle, and that might not even be the truth. The one thing that we can all probably agree on is, as a professional footballer, and I know he's only 17, but he's surely being advised better than this, you shouldn't just not turn up for training. If I did that, I would get sacked. I mean, obviously I'm not a footballer, but in terms of work, and it's a bad attitude to have. It's a bad precedent to set, and it doesn't set you very well in the eyes of football fans across the country and in general. Regardless of his personal beliefs of Manchester City in the situation, that is no way to go about your business, and I'm not sure who's advising there, but they've done a terrible job. Now, does he have a point about integration? In my humble opinion, he actually does. Is he maybe getting ahead of himself a little bit? Possibly, maybe not. It depends where you sit there. Some people will say he's showing a weak mentality. Other people will say he's being ambitious and predicting something that he could get away from and get first team football somewhere else sooner. I don't think there's a correct answer, and we could argue forever until next year over this, I'm sure. But all I know and all I hope is that however this is solved, it's solved amicably, because he's an exceptionally talented footballer. I don't want this revisionism. I've seen it already, people saying that last year, oh, he wasn't that good, and maybe he dropped and didn't work that hard. That's, to put it politely, bollocks. He was exceptional last season. He worked incredibly hard. He had the odd quiet game, as everyone does, but there was no questioning his attitude at all while he was playing for City. Even if he plays for next season, I'm sure he will still give 100%, because that's how he plays football. And I won't hear anything else there, because that's just people pretending they've seen something that they haven't, just his damage limitations. But Sancho, I think he's going to leave. I think it's a shame. I think Arsenal and Spurs both want him, and maybe if Barcelona do get Dembele, maybe Dortmund will be back with him. That's according to Kicker, reporting that Dortmund are after him, and I can see him maybe fancying that. But then, at the same time, I'm not sure if a young London kid who's missing home would then go to a country where everyone speaks German and he'd feel a little bit left out. Maybe, maybe not. I'm just hoping it's solved and he has a good career, because it's a crying shame. But I guess it's going to happen sometimes. I guess you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. But whatever happens, I hope City don't let this reputation fester, because he can be poisonous and undermine some of the great work and some of the great players we've got at Manchester City. We need to prove that these young players have a pathway, and I'm hoping and I believe that this could happen this season with Foden and Brahim Diaz, because I think Pep does intend to use them. I just hope now that this faith I've got in this happening isn't misplaced. This is just a quick one. I know it's old news now because I've not done a video on it. Kelechi obviously has left, and that's what I'd say. I am gutted. I'm going to miss you, Kelechi, you beautiful man. He was a breath of fresh air when he first burst through, but it didn't quite happen for him. Now, I don't really agree with the amount of game time he got. I thought he deserved vast amounts, but I am just glad now there's been a resolution, and one that kind of favours all parties, if we're being honest. I still think he's a wonderfully gifted footballer. He's got loads more that he hasn't shown us yet. He's got an incredibly bright future in the game, and I think if he'd played, got the minutes that he deserved, maybe under Pellegrini initially, then maybe hopefully a little bit more last season, then I think he would have shown so much more. But it just hasn't happened, and he was probably guilty of being too useful as a substitute. If anything, he seemed to be quite relaxed about his status in the squad, happy to come off the bench, and usually got a goal. So he was kind of just became a super sub, but he was so much more than that potentially. Hopefully when he goes to Leicester for 25 million, well, he's gone there obviously now, he'd become a main man there alongside someone like Vardy, and I think he can show what he's capable of. I think he's more than just a striker. He's got a great touch. Well, he did at youth level. He had a great long range finish, a great weight of pass, and a great touch, but then came a little bit rushed in the first team. And I think if he reaches potential, the rumoured £50 million buyback clause could seem a bargain one day. Fingers crossed he scores loads of goals next season. Kelechi, mate, I will miss you. And on to David Silva. Now, relax, this is not what it seems like. I just had to mention it because he came up in the news. Las Palmas are rumoured to try and sign David Silva only in 2019. They're obviously hoping for the best there, let's be honest, because in 2 years, David Silva will still be at the height of his game. But this does have credence to this story. David Silva did say a couple of years back that everyone always tells him to play for Barca or Real Madrid, but he wants to play for Las Palmas, who are his boyhood club. They are the team that he grew up supporting. That's where he wants to end his career, and I kind of respect that, and I like that. And as terrifying as it is, it's almost weird to realise that it's not as terrifying as it once seemed, given the fact that we now have Bernardo Silva. We now have someone like Phil Foden bursting through. We now have De Bruyne finally showing, not finally showing, hinting that he could go even to a greater level this season. It feels like we're kind of preparing for the inevitable, and I quite like how reassuring it seems seeing this average age go down. I still think he'll be ready to play for City for longer in 2019, to be totally honest. Another 2 years after that, maybe. But if he does go then, that year, and he goes back to his boyhood club, I think that's quite romantic, and I quite like that, so I wouldn't begrudge him that in the slightest. But that is a long way in the future, and hopefully he would have won a few more trophies by then. Anyway, guys, that's my first video in ages. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you make of all these rumours. Go and give the OneFootball app a download, because every time you do, it helps keep this channel going, and it would mean a lot to me, and it would mean a lot to those guys at OneFootball, and hopefully it's going to be the start of a very interesting August. I'll be doing match previews as well, I'll be doing other videos. Let me know in the comments what you want to see. If you haven't already as well, don't forget to subscribe, big like on the video, and I will see you in a couple of days for another video.